it and then keep until you allow them to focus elsewhere the attention of any foe you engage. With regardless of whether or not attacking you would be a wise course of action for them, and your equipment is now impossible to break or be damaged by any method so long as you are holding or wearing it. Your bodyguard abilities can now be applied to a massive number of people, and will intercept up to 90% of the damage that would normally have gone to them. Your defensive abilities apply in full against the damage sent your way as normal, meaning you could potentially tank for entire raid groups all on your own. Finally, you gain the Invulnerable Aegis special ability. You can activate this at any time, several times per day, to render any attack made against you completely and utterly negated no matter how powerful it is. It is one of the few defenses known to be capable of fending off the dimension/ability of the damage-focused warrior. Naturally, no matter what level you are as a defense-focused warrior, you're decent at actual fighting as well, though not quite to the same extent as the magic warrior or monk, and nowhere close to the damage-focused warrior. This class synergizes tremendously well with Tireless and World Champion, allowing the defense-focused warrior to drag out battles near indefinitely, allowing them to benefit from regeneration, tirelessness, and slowly increasing strength as the battle grows longer until eventually they'll be able to batter down just about any opposition. To defeat such a warrior would require quick and overwhelming force, for in the long battle, which they would be uniquely suited to engaging in, they're a nearly insurmountable force. Magic warrior, you're skilled in magic as well as swordplay. It's not really on the same level as your physical abilities, but you're not exactly a slouch either. You're particularly decent at spells meant to debuff or otherwise hinder large groups of low-level foes, as well as spells designed to force singular opponents into unfavorable positions that you can then take advantage of. Additionally, you're skilled enough with both your magic and physical abilities such that you can easily make use of both even in chaotic melee. That said, your magic is best put to use putting your foes into unfavorable positions or forcing them to face you where you are strong and they are weak. Don't expect to be blasting armies out of existence with this. Starting out, you can easily best small groups of trained warriors via a combination of both might and magic, easily channeling your foes into unfavorable situations and footing in order to take solid advantage of them. You possess magic capable of weaving illusory effects, as well as more physical magic such as changing the consistency of the ground, such as from hard earth to soft mud, or causing negative effects such as grease or sleet to form where you desire. Your magics and abilities that directly target your enemies focus mostly on slowing them down and sowing confusion, often via dazzling them with bright lights, flashes, sounds, and so forth. You naturally have the ability to channel these sorts of powers through your weapon, allowing you to inflict these effects as you hit your foes. In the realm of heroes, you could trivially defeat large groups of trained warriors. You could easily sow confusion amongst the ranks via the crafting of illusions, such that they see everyone as an enemy, or everyone as an ally, or for single targets, literal confusion as they are stuck by spells that leave them incapable of telling real from unreal or up from down. Induction of vertigo, poisoning, curses, literally slowing people, and even petrification are all possible at this level, and you can even haste yourself. Naturally, your melee skills are top-notch at this point as well, capable of easily taking advantage of the openings your magic makes in order to make easy kills. Even without the benefit of your magic, though, your skill is nothing to complain about, easily the equal or superior of anyone that isn't a damage-focused warrior or monk of a peer level to you. At level 100, you'll be able to make literal topographical changes to the nearby terrain, creating gullies, small lakes, pitfalls, cliffs, and more. Your illusions are so powerful that it is virtually impossible to see through them without specific prepared counters, and the debuffs you can layer onto your enemies run the entire gamut of negative status effects, even including potential instant death, and can even hit large swaths of enemies all at once. Additionally, your lower-level debuffs and effects become passive abilities, allowing you to layer such debilitations onto anyone you strike with your weapon without the need to actually expend mana in the casting. At this level, your sword skills are near peerless, easily the equal of your magics, and outside of other peer-level warriors it is unlikely you'll ever meet someone that can give you true challenge in melee. A magic warrior benefits tremendously from the knowledge of strategy and tactics that comes with the long game, allowing them to effortlessly direct their spells, attentions, and techniques in such a fashion as to hide their enemies into near inability to act, leaving the magic warrior free to take action at their own direction and at their own pace. Monk differently from a damage-focused warrior whom chooses their body as their weapon, and is more of a brawler. The monk focuses on skill and grace paired with explosive physical strength. Possessing the sturdiest, most flexible, and quickest bodies of all the physical classes, they excel at striking when and where it would be most effective rather than trying to overpower their foes with sheer brute strength. Just starting out, you'll be faster, tougher, stronger, tardier, and with a greater level of finesse with your body at least than warriors that chose to focus on swords and armor, though such individuals may outperform you if their equipment is of exceptional quality. Within the realm of heroes, however, your skin is akin to heavy steel plate at the weakest, and your strikes land with such quickness and ferocity that many bystanders will not even realize you've struck until after the fact. Additionally, your hardiness will have grown to the point that you could casually resist even strong poisons, and disease and infirmity of the body are a thing of the past. You'll also possess a number of abilities of a more spiritual sort, such as eventually being able to see the invisible, strike the intangible, ignore the damage reduction of enemies, and reinforce your body, mind, and spirit to significantly superhuman levels of resilience. At level 100, your blows could crack castle walls, your fists and feet moving so fast that you do not even appear to have swung them, and your movement is so quick that even with just a casual walking pace it may seem to passers-by that you are practically teleporting. Your spiritual abilities will have also struck their peak, able to ignore poisons no matter how potent, understand the hearts and minds of living beings even if you can't speak their language, are they yours, and your physical aging will have stopped entirely. This class synergies tremendously well with that of a damage-focused warrior that chooses their body as their weapon, granting the skill, speed, and grace of the monk alongside the overwhelming brute power of the damage-focused class. 200 CP tireless. You simply, magically, don't get tired. Ever. You can fight literally all day and all night non-stop for weeks at a time if you needed to. You'd still need to eat and drink on the go, unless you don't normally need to do those things, but you could do that while fighting with one hand easily enough. Your muscles do not cramp, you do not feel weariness creeping up on you no matter how strenuous the exercise, and in combat when others start flagging and slowing down you're still going strong at the peak of your ability. This explicitly makes it so you don't need to sleep anymore, assuming you still had to do that, and at any time that you aren't in the middle of strenuous physical endeavors. Just taking it easy and relaxing will be just as beneficial for you as actual sleep. This also provides you with a modest healing factor, not quite strong enough to be useful in short battles but noticeable enough to be of significant use in longer conflicts. Even undead or things that wouldn't otherwise be naturally capable of healing themselves can benefit from this regeneration. This tirelessness also slightly affects your mental processes as well, allowing you to easily dedicate your extra time from not sleeping towards any sort of training or other activity that you desire without suffering from mental fatigue. 400 CP. The long game. You're a tremendously charismatic and skilled tactician and strategist, able to adapt on the fly and to glimpse through the schemes of your opponents with only a modicum of effort. More than that, you know how best to implement the distribution of your forces, both personal and the ones you have command over, in order to manipulate situations such that you will be in position to reap the rewards later on. You can do this effortlessly and often without even needing to consciously think about it, events tending to line up in the way most beneficial to you barring extreme outliers. It's not just being good enough to outthink your enemy, it's also about being good enough to maneuver your enemy into a position where you can defeat them without them having ever realized you did it. And leaving them so amazed at your talent, assuming they realize it was you at all, that they cannot help but bow their heads in admiration. In short, you're actually the charismatic genius planner, strategist, and master manipulator that everyone in Nazareth thinks Saints is. 600 CP World Champion. You are the very model of what it means to be a warrior. Your every swing is a master stroke, your every maneuver a brilliant display of skill and ferocity. Your physical combat abilities are boosted tremendously, and you will find yourself gaining in strength, speed, and agility the longer a battle continues and the more opponents you face, though this increase in physical power will slowly return to its base level once the battle has concluded. In terms of fighting prowess, you could defeat any 3 peers of your same level, regardless of the difference in equipment between you, with utter and humiliating, for them, ease. Additionally, you will find that the better a strategist and tactician you are, the more dangerous you become. The knowledge of battle planning and tactical ability combining together to give you a reliable and comprehensive battle precognition that will let you see your enemy's moves long before they arrive, and maneuver them appropriately to render them utterly impotent. The greater your skill in strategy and tactics, the more far-reaching this foresight becomes, though it only applies to combat. You could potentially plan out an entire war with this if your tactical acumen rivaled that of a god, but you wouldn't have any insight on how to keep your country economically stable afterwards. Magic Caster Perks. 100 CP Class Skills. Magic Caster. You have access to a set of class skills which represent levels that you have gained in certain different types of classes. Kind of like if you were playing an RPG, which you may very well have been doing. Pick one from the following list. The first purchase is free for Magic Casters, and Magic Casters get discounts on further purchases. A note on Magic: all Magics here are considered to be in the ranked Magic system, regardless of what class they came from. As a special consideration for the Magic Caster background, it is worth noting that 1st tier is the lowest and 10th tier is the highest, not counting potential overrank magic that was discussed earlier in the level 100 perk. Arcane Caster. You're the classic wizard. You know how to cast spells like Fireball, Lightning, Bolt, Haste, Fly, Invisibility, Teleport, Charm Person, Slow, a generous assortment of buffing and debuffing spells, and so on and so forth. You're also a dab hand at ritual work. In terms of ranked magic, you start out knowing a fair amount of spells of the 3rd tier, and many more of the 2nd and 1st. If you are in the realm of heroes, you know and are capable of casting spells of up to the 6th tier. Spells of this level are dramatically more powerful than those of the lower tiers, and you could honestly claim to be capable of beating hundreds of men on your own with just your direct offensive spells, and could probably manage far more than that with a bit of planning. At this level, you're considered a potential strategic asset worth whole armies as far as the people of the New World are concerned. Such spells include controlling the weather, conjuring forth skeletal dragons, dominating the minds of others, though in an obvious way, fabricating finished products out of raw materials instantly, making some lower tier spells permanent via the permanency spell, and many more. If you are level 100, you are capable of 10th tier magic. Most people in the New World don't even know that this tier of magic exists, or the 9th or 8th tiers either for that matter. You effectively have no match whatsoever in terms of arcane magic power outside of Ainzu himself. Spells at these heights could smite entire armies casually, summon forth creatures that could do the same for you, or buff you to heights similar in physical ability to a warrior of your same level, though not with the weapon skills to make good use of it. Spells at this level include Reality Slash, which is a watered-down version of the damage-focused Warrior's Dimensional Slash, very watered down, conjuring forth major magical servitors such as primal elementals or high-ranking angels or demons. Casting Gate. creating potentially permanent teleportation circles, wide area instant deep magic teleporting over vast distances without any chance of error, shifting into other planes, dimensions of existence, making much higher tier spells permanent via the permanency spell, and more. Divine Caster. You're capable of divine magic, and also druidic magic for some reason. This means you're capable of healing others, curing diseases and poisons, summoning monsters to aid you, casting spells and barriers of protection, turning, commanding, or destroying the undead, entangling enemies in plant life, commanding natural beasts and creatures to aid you, and more. If you're in the realm of heroes, you can cast the lesser versions of resurrection magic to bring back the dead, a skill in considerable demand, and your other magics are heightened in potency, often being capable of affecting multiple targets at once. Additionally, at this level your nature magics start to really come into their own, with you being able to make minor, but useful, changes to the nearby landscape, as well as controlling the weather, calling down lightning bolts, and conjuring forth much more dangerous and powerful monsters or creatures to serve you, such as elementals or strong magical beasts. You'll additionally be able to wild shape into the forms of animals and such that you've encountered, though you can't transform into anything stronger than yourself, and you don't get any supernatural abilities from doing so. However, you do gain the size, strength, and toughness of said creatures. You'll additionally be able to lift curses upon others, destroy lower level and even some medium-leveled undead instantly, casting healing spells that affect large groups all at once, and layer several buffing types of magics to improve the performance of yourself or allies. At level 100, you can cast spells of such potency that you could heal entire armies in one go, mass resurrect the dead with no penalty to the person that died, cast spells of protection that can potentially be used to nullify just about any kind of damage you can prepare for. Cause earthquakes turn small forests into armies of tree ants to turn against your enemies, and your skills in combating the undead are virtually peerless. Your wild shape abilities now let you transform into fantastic creatures such as dragons or elementals, and you can even summon forth such creatures as temporary servitors to work your will. You can instantly destroy anything other than extremely high tier undead, and your divine and druidic magics have hit their very peak. Talismonger. This class bears a lot of similarities to classic Oriental magical traditions in that you cast spells via the use of special talismans that you can create. You're not quite as focused in the arcane side of things as an arcane caster, and not as good at divine magics as a divine caster, but you make up for it in dabbling in both at the same time and having a fair amount of exotic or otherwise unconventional magics you can call up. Where you really shine, though, is that you can prepare talismans with specific spells ahead of time, allowing you to effectively cast those spells when you're not in combat and then keep them in reserve until they're actually needed. In this fashion you can dramatically increase your combat endurance via intelligent preparation. Crafting these talismans takes you a bit of time, effort, and some resources, and they're only one use, but it's dramatically easier and cheaper for you to do than anyone else could ever possibly hope to claim. Just starting out, you know a fair amount of spells to inflict negative maladies upon your foes, and defeating a large group of armed warriors is as simple for you as cast a few of your magics and then letting time do the rest. In the realm of heroes you have a fairly even mix of both arcane and divine spells, however your spells in those disciplines are not as powerful, broad in scope, or quite as versatile as an individual that's specialized in those classes. Your single and area target debuffs and curses, however, are substantially better than either by a considerable margin. You will be able to inflict a large variety of negative status effects, such as confusion, insanity, vertigo, torpor, poisons, the more powerful toxins, polymorphing, petrification, instant death effects, and more. Your bread and butter, such as it is that you are capable of debilitating foes whether they come individually or in large groups, to such devastating effect that oftentimes the battle is won without you having to deal any direct damage at all. You are equally skilled at defending against such maladies. In addition, your talismans can now hold 2 spells at a time, however they must be the same spell. At level 100, your abilities have hit their peak. Your spells and debuffs can now affect entire armies of individuals all at once, wreaking utter havoc amongst your foes with singular castings. You could easily poison small cities all at once, or leave an army of statues standing in a field with only the slightest bit of effort. Your debuff and debilitation spells are still your main workhorse, however you know an even mix of both arcane and divine spells of up to the 9th tier, with your 10th tier spells being filled out with your class-specific spells. Your talismans can now hold 3 of the same spell at once. Spiritualist, dealing with the contracted binding and borrowing of power of the spirits of the world. The spiritualist tends more towards indirect effects, subtlety, and supportive roles than those of the other more traditional magic caster classes. This is not a branch of magic dealing solely in summoning purse, but it does have more than its fair share of such things. Your spells tend towards beckoning or influencing the spirits within your surroundings in order to accomplish tasks for you, and potentially even manifesting such spirits directly either as summons or to empower yourself or others as a form of buff. Different from Druidism, which deals directly with the manipulation of nature, your approach tends to work through proxy in order to manage such changes for you. Just starting out, you'll approximate many of the abilities of lower-level druids or arcane casters, but in the realm of heroes you'll start to branch off more solidly, focusing on changing the spirits of a given area to impede enemies or aid yourself and allies. Calling forth spirit servitors in order to directly work for you, or calling forth spirits within yourself or others in order to increase their abilities. At level 100 you'll be able to call forth spirits of tremendous and terrifying power and scope, such as Genus Loci. Giving orders to spirits to maintain or change large areas of land or water to support your aims, which they will then continue to maintain until such time as you direct them otherwise. Permanently blessing or cursing spirits of specific bloodlines, or calling forth spirits into yourself or allies capable of empowering them to truly spectacular might. Taking this class ensures that such spirits will always be available in future worlds for you to call upon. Finally, these are spells, so you don't need to worry about your magic shutting down, because the local spirits don't like you. So long as you provide the mana to cast them, your spells will continue to work. 200 CP specific specialization. You can purchase this perk more than once. Each time you do so, you can specialize in a specific branch or theme of magic. You will then be capable of spells of greater potency, scope, power, or so forth within that specific theme. The spells and magics you learn via these picks will always be superior than the ones you could learn without them, often being cheaper to cast, more powerful, larger in scope, or so forth. Taking a specialization doesn't make you worse at things outside of your specialization, it just makes you better at the things you specialize in. Pick from the following list. Crowd control. You're really good at crowd control. You know many spells that can be used to halt large groups in their tracks, either via entanglement, restricting their movements, making the terrain unfavorable, mesmerizing them, or some other method. Really good. While these spells aren't directly useful in an offensive role, they can easily set up your allies for success, or allow you the time to cast other more offensive magics, and are a tremendous force multiplier when you work with a group. You are particularly skilled at spells designed against single targets, allowing you to trap and bind specific enemies that would often otherwise prove to be too slippery for you to catch. Enhanced mind controlling and illusionary magics explicitly fall under the umbrella of this specialization, alongside improved means of detecting such magics and abilities as well as countering them. Evoker. You're a direct damage dealer. You know a wide variety of damage-dealing spells, often elemental in nature or event-type force energy, that are especially potent in destroying your enemies. They are more damaging, can affect more enemies, and are much more precise. You are especially skilled in punching through magic resistance Summoning. You are really good at summoning magics. Creatures you call up are more powerful, longer lasting, and often tend to have special abilities they wouldn't otherwise have. Maybe you called up frost wolves that have a chill aura rather than regular wolves, or maybe that fire elemental you called up can spawn more of itself that will then also fall under your control. This explicitly works with summoning magic even outside of this jump, granting your summoned creatures extra strength and abilities thematic with their nature. If you were to purchase this alongside the augmented summoning innate talent, your magical summons would be fearsome indeed. Why bother dealing with something yourself when you could send a disposable minion to do it for you? The perfect ability for masterminds or the lazy. Summons made via the ranked magic system are perfectly loyal to you unto death, and you'll find that with this the loyalty applies even to summons via other magic systems. Creatures and beings of godlike power, however, may be able to resist the enforced loyalty clause. Summon Maber Cthulhu at your own risk. Additionally, most summons are temporary, and the enforced loyalty is only in effect while they are serving as your summon. Keep in mind when using summons from other jumps that some summoned creatures have long memories, and may seek you out on their own if they feel you abused your influence over them. Warder. You're really good at warding things. Specifically areas, creatures, and items. You could ward a small town so that those with hostile intent against the residents would be cursed the moment they step inside, or could potentially create wards that just keep such people out completely, assuming you've got the time and are willing to spend the effort making them. You're also really good at creating wards against specific effects such as mind control, instant death curses, and ironically enough wards that will let you ignore other wards. You could even erect wards on individuals to allow them to temporarily ignore a weakness they might otherwise have, such as allowing a lesser vampire to walk about in daylight or allowing a fire elemental to resist cold damage. Necromancy. You're a master of the undead. If you're level 100, you're an ear equal in terms of this branch of magic compared even to the Lich Momonga himself, if you happen to also be a skeleton or zombie in addition to being a level 100 magic caster. And necromancer, then you are his equal. You can easily create and control lesser undead, which will be permanent if you use fresh bodies as catalysts, and have a particular affinity for instant death spells. Even if a target should resist one of your instant death spells, they usually have an automatic debuff effect anyway, such as guaranteed stunning, exhaustion, blindness, or other sorts of curses and debilitations. If you couldn't already, you can now turn, command, and destroy the undead like a divine caster of your level, and if you could already do that, then you're even better at it. 400 CP Dark Wisdom. You've attained a rare and dangerous knowledge, magic caster. Your mind now swirls with the knowledge of magic theory and artifice. You now possess the ability to learn any number of spells, regardless of normal restrictions or the normal limits of your mind and memory, and further you can learn to convert the spells and magics of systems unfamiliar to you such that you can cast them with a magic system you are familiar with. You are not joining or fusing magic systems, merely converting spells from one into another. This takes effort and study, however, and whether or not it will be worthwhile depends on how interested you are in devoting the time to it. Additionally, so long as you've seen a spell cast at least once, you will, with time and effort, be able to puzzle out its workings. You may to see it cast multiple times, however, to glean everything there is to know, so that you might add it to your own list of spells. This ability, likewise, will take time and effort. 600 CP The Abyss of Magic. You stared into the abyss, magic caster, but unlike others you did not flinch away. Your reserves of magical energy are heavily bolstered, far beyond what any of your peers could claim, and the potency of your spells has increased to match your newfound insights. You may now overcharge your spells, devoting more time, energy, and magical power into them than they might otherwise normally be capable of handling, allowing you to gain dramatically increased effect as a result of it. Simple fireballs might strike with the force of a meteor if you devoted the energy to it, and even your less flashy or obvious magics can be bolstered to a comparable degree. Treasures of the World Tree. The items section follows. All origins get 200 CP to spend in the item section only. You may discount any one item, but discounts do not stack. Companions do not get 200 CP to spend on items or a discount, but may get some items for free as noted in their descriptions. All items, with the exception of the gold, will reappear in your warehouse after 24 hours in the event they are lost, destroyed, or stolen unless otherwise specified in their descriptions. The normal progression of items in Yggdrasil is as follows: lesser, low, minor, medium, major, greater, high, highest, legacy, relic, legendary, and divine. Items of up to medium can be considered as regular items that otherwise are little better than standard equipment of their type. Major to legacy level items are considered to actually be fairly powerful, and will provide considerable boosts. The higher on the list, the better the boost. Relic and legendary are typically the highest level items that a normal player will have access to and represent some of the best equipment available. These give major, if non-specific boosts to all class abilities purchased with the class skills perks. Warriors will fight better magic. Casters will have more powerful magic, and drop-ins will be even better at both of those things. In a direct competition between two individuals of the same skill, the one that possesses relic or legendary equipment will almost always triumph over someone that does not. Divine class items are just that, divine. These are the highest class of equipment that players will usually ever see, much less have for themselves. These represent the strongest equipment available. A full set of divine level gear is enough to take an otherwise average level 100 player and put them into the high middle tier in terms of power. The Lich Momonga possesses a full set of divine gear and happens to be just such a player. Above even that, however, are world-class items. The lore of Yggdrasil tells us that when the world serpent attacked Yggdrasil, the world tree, that only 9 leaves remained on its branches after it was driven away. These 9 leaves represent the 9 worlds. All the leaves that had fallen off, however, were other worlds, now destroyed, and 200 of these worlds took shape in the form of items of incomparable power. World items always possess virtually unrivaled strength, potency, or special effects that put them far above even divine items. However, care must be taken in their use, since they will be coveted by all that learn of them. For your 50 CP golden coins, you've got access to a respectable amount of gold coins. The exact amount of gold coins you have isn't important, suffice to say it's more than a few hundred but less than 1,000. This amount of gold is enough to beggar the imagination of commoners, and even landed nobility will consider it a large sum. If you're a player, it's minted with Yggdrasil iconography and is probably what you had in your inventory when you arrived in the new world. They're sure to attract attention if you use them. If you're a local, it's in local denominations, and represents the amount of money you've made over a lifetime of adventure and or getting paid for your services. For 50 CP you have 10 times as much gold in the envy of basically anyone that knows how rich you are, and you'll probably be the target of thieves if they can figure out where you're keeping it. 100 CP or free the Orb of Death, a perfectly spherical purple gemstone and magical item that will automatically absorb the negative energies of any type of a place in order to gather and store magical power. It glows from within with a sickly light when charged with energy. Can be used to create undead, with more powerful undead requiring greater amounts of stored energy. It also serves as a focus for amplifying and empowering necromancy. Unlike the Orb of Death you may find in canon, this is not truly sapient, and will not take any actions on its own. In theory, there is no limit to the amount of negative energy that can be stored, but in practice it will be difficult to attain high levels of stored energy unless you provide it yourself. Free with necromancy. 100 CP or free comfy tavern, in a high-class tavern, and that serves truly excellent quality food and drink relative to the jump you're in, and that you officially own, even if that wouldn't make much sense. There will always be a VIP room with meals and service, with quality again dependent relative to the jump you're in, that will be available for you to use free of charge and you get a cut of the profits. People of wealth, influence, and considerable personal ability, like adventurers, tend to make frequent use of its services, which can easily allow you to make social connections. You get to choose where it is located in this jump, and it follows you into future worlds where you also get to choose its location. Staff inexplicably come with it, though. They're not the same people jump to jump. Drop-ins with skillful and resourceful get is for